welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, Frederick Chase hater and longtime Percy Jackson fan.
Wait a second. Is his name Frederick?
His name is Frederick.
The dad?
Yeah.
Why do you hate it? I loved him in this chapter.
We'll get into it.
I knew Mallory was going to have some thoughts on this.
Who are you?
I'm Julie. I'm gonna be a Dr. Chase defender because I loved him in this. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm ready to get into the discourse. So this is a podcast where Julie reads The Titan's Curse for the first time and we talk about it. And we are joined by a returning guest, Christina. And she's back for the climax of this book since she got some of the more boring introductory chapters of Sea of Monsters. So she's here for the good stuff this time.
Not even boring, just the worst part. Everything's terrible. Nothing's good is about the chapters. Also, hi. Happy to be back.
We're glad to have you back. So, question for you this time is, who is your favorite character?
My favorite character from Percy Jackson?
Yeah.
This should be easy. I mean, Percy Jackson, he was my first fictional crush. I was obsessed with this kid. Yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, that's such a boring answer, but like...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the mark of a good book and good characters when the side characters are not more interesting than the main character, you know? It's a good answer. Cool. So before we start, I do have to tie up a loose end from last time. I've been thinking about our drachma math like once a day for the last week, and...
Mal, you need a hobby.
Yeah, I do need a hobby. When I was editing the last episode, I was listening to myself and I was like, what am I even talking about? I made this like so convoluted and so much harder. Like, I was like, why are we converting back to ounces? Basically, like, we needed to just take the volume, then figure out like what a cubic centimeter of gold is worth. And so also the volume was wrong anyway, because we were like, oh, half a centimeter tall. They're really closer to like a third of a centimeter tall. So I did rework the volume a little bit and ended up with a Thin Mint has a volume of 0.769 cubic centimeters. Then I found out online that a cubic centimeter of gold is about $1,200.
Was this in current dollars or?
This was in current dollars as of like 2023.
Okay.
So it's a little outdated, but this is closer than I think we got last time. But so if you multiply 1,200 by the 0.7, you end up with about $923 as the worth of one drachma, which feels more accurate than anything we came up with last time.
I don't remember what we said last time, so.
We didn't actually come to a conclusion. At one point I said something like 300,000.
Whoa.
Which was crazy. Sydney also estimated like 600. But yeah, and then it doesn't even say how many drachmas they leave for the canoes, but Percy says a stack, so that's at least 2. So they're leaving at least $1,800 for these canoes.
Pretty good.
Do we think Uncle Rick did the math here, or did he go...
Absolutely not. He just made them Girl Scout cookie-sized coins to be whimsical.
He's the same man who did not look up how far away the Mississippi River was from
VR.
True.
Yeah, so I don't think he figured this out.
I think probably not, yeah. So the chapters we read this time started with Chapter 16, we meet the Dragon of Eternal Bad Breath. So we have many problems to solve right off the bat in this one. They have to enter the garden at sunset tonight because the Hesperides are the nymphs of sunset, and if they miss it, they'll have to wait a whole another day, and then Artemis will miss the meeting and Annabeth will be dead. They also can't leave Bessie behind, so Grover offers to help get Bessie back to camp since he's the only one who can talk to him, and Percy prays to his dad for help, and Thalia reminds him that when you ask for something that big, a sacrifice has to go with it, so he takes off the lion coat, and Grover is like, whoa, are you sure? This has been really useful. Grover reminds him, like, Hercules used the lion skin coat, and things click for Percy, and he realizes that the hero that had abandoned Zoe was Hercules, and so he says, I'm not Hercules, and sacrifices his coat anyway. And then Grover and Bessie are off. And so they need a car, and Percy is opposed to stealing one, which is lame. And I'm gonna say, yet again, if I was saving the world, I would absolutely be borrowing cars and whatever I need. Like, God forbid a girl has a little fun while she saves the world.
The felony.
Okay. I'm saving the world. I can do a little bit of a felony.
I mean, they were able to get Percy off of all those felonies from the first book.
So true.
So.
It's gonna be on America's Most Wanted or something.
I firmly believe that there's like a BuzzFeed Unsolved about this kid who was wreaking havoc across the United States for like a week.
Feels right.
And Shane would 100% be on his side, by the way.
As he should be. It's the correct side to be on. Again, he's saving the world. The crimes are excusable.
Depends on the crime.
That's true. I think a little bit of stealing, a little bit of mischief is okay. But if you're gonna, like, murder or do things that are, like, terrible, you know?
Capital offenses not allowed.
Right.
What about treason? Would treason be okay?
Selling secrets to a foreign government.
Well, see, I think it would depend. So are you selling the secrets? I think any crimes that are committed in in the path towards, like, saving the world are forgivable. But if you're just, like, selling state secrets for fun,
If he kills someone, is that okay? If he accidentally kills someone?
if it is in the path of saving the world.
Oh my god!
Listen, the ethics of murder, I think, depends on the context. And Percy should be allowed to do a little treason as a treat. That's my final answer. Okay, so, because we're opposed to stealing a car, that means we have to find another place to get one. And luckily, Thalia knows someone, and that person happens to be Annabeth's dad. And so, we hit up the Chase residence. And, okay, so the thing with Dr. Chase is he's so goofy and so fun that I think I would like him if he wasn't supposed to be a responsible father. You know, like, that's the thing that gets me. Like, he answers the door in aviator goggles and asks if they're delivering his planes, and they say they're friends with Annabeth, and he asks if something happened to her, and is she okay? I just want to know, like, why did no one tell her dad? Like, shouldn't that be part of Chiron's job as the adult at camp, like, letting mortal parents know when something has happened to their kid?
I mean, they didn't know that she was dead, so, like, what do they say? Like, are they just gonna worry him, like, unnecessarily? They don't really know anything.
Maybe there's a reason he got fired in Sea of Monsters.
Maybe he's bad at his job.
I actually fully believe that Chiron is kind of bad at his job. But also that's just a consequence of writing a story in which the kids are expected to save the world. Like, all the adults have to be a little bit incompetent. So
My biggest thing was her dad opened the door and was like, hey, do you have my planes? And these are like 14, 15-year-old kids.
Now, was he talking, like, legitimate life-size planes? He wasn't talking about, like, models.
I assume he's talking about models, because he says something about, like, needing a few more for his model, I thought.
Okay, so we're talking tiny things.
Scrolling back up.
That makes so much more sense. I was expecting full planes.
Well, he's already got a full plane.
Well, I guess, but maybe he could use 3 more.
He could. Okay, hold on.
Maybe he needs to run an experiment and he needs to fly the planes.
Okay, so yeah, he says he needs 3 more sop with camels,
Awesome.
and the sop with camels are in his model, right? Yeah. So I think they're just, like, small little model planes.
So in theory, these kids could be delivering it from like a Facebook Marketplace situation.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I think some of the way that the chases are presented here has a little bit to do with Percy kind of being an unreliable narrator, because his description here is trying really hard to make me a Chase family apologist. However, I will never be one. Percy, like, describes the house as being happy and messy. He says it smells like chocolate chip cookies, which, you know, I'm sure reminds him of his own home, because his mom is, like, the queen of blue chocolate chip cookies. And actually, chocolate chip cookies are a symbol of home in the Percy Jackson universe, I think, actually. And then Dr. Chase is very absent-minded, so he kind of calls his sons by the wrong name, and then absently kind of gets onto them about not taking apart each other's toys, which I can't believe that works. Like, he's just like, don't take apart your brother's robots. Okay, Dad. No child in the world has ever. He doesn't even ask them their names until his wife shows up and reminds him. And, you know, she offers to bring them cookies and sandwiches, which is nice, and also says, nice to meet you, Percy. I've heard a lot about you, which is fun. Great when the stepmom that she doesn't get along with has heard about Percy. That's how you know it's serious.
Mm-hmm.
How much is she talking about him?
Also, she hasn't been home in how long? Because she's been going to school in New York with Thalia.
Yeah.
They may not have even seen her since prior to the Sea of Monsters, because she would have been home for, like, that school year. So, getting into my analysis of the Chase household, I think Percy is kind of romanticizing what he sees here. Like, I think he walked into this house and sees a lot of things that he didn't have growing up. Like, there are siblings, there are 2 parental figures, they have cats, there are toys, there's music playing. Like, it feels like a home that is lived in a way that I imagine Percy's apartment doesn't feel. Like, Sally Jackson tries her best, but we're only like a year and a half removed from Gabe at this point. And I would imagine even before Gabe, Sally was working a lot, and I don't think that, like, Percy has ever lived in a home that feels like this. It feels like a happy family home. And, like, as hard as she works, and as much as Percy loves his mom, that's just, like, that's not the vibe. Like, they don't have money. They're kind of struggling, you know? And so I think looking at, like, what Percy is telling us here and comparing it with what Annabeth has said, that's where, like, cracks start to appear. So, like, I went back to the Lightning Thief, and I wrote down exactly what Annabeth says about her father. She says, "My dad's resented me since the day I was born. He never wanted a baby. When he got me, he asked Athena to take me back and raise me on Olympus because he was too busy with his work. He always talked about my arrival as if it were the most inconvenient thing that ever happened to him. When I was 5, he got married and totally forgot about Athena. He got a regular mortal wife, had 2 regular mortal kids, and tried to pretend I didn't exist." I mean, the father and stepmother that we see here do appear to care about her more than she seemed to think when she was 12, but the fact that she knew that he tried to send her back is a big red flag for me. Because her saying that he talked about her like she was the biggest inconvenience, like, who was he saying this to? Within earshot of his 7-year-old. Because I hope he wasn't saying it straight to her face.
He would never.
Like, did he tell a 7-year-old that he tried to give her back to her mother?
You've never said anything terrible to your mother. Just reverse.
Okay, but, like, when you're the adult in the situation, you have to recognize that this is a child.
Nobody's perfect, Mel.
If your mom told you that she tried to give you up when you were a kid and you were an inconvenience, would you forgive her?
She would be right. Because I was a terrible child.
See, I would not. Thinking about her overhearing, like, her dad telling someone that she's an inconvenience.
An accident.
Well, I was kind of picturing Annabeth being the kind of child to, like, hide at the top of the stairs to listen to adult conversations, because I absolutely used to do that. There was a spot that I could lay upstairs where you could hear everything, but looking up, you couldn't see. So, okay, Annabeth probably overheard something she wasn't supposed to hear, but talking about that in earshot of your 7-year-old just rubs me the wrong way.
I'm gonna play both sides here because I don't have any strong opinions, but I could see him being the type. Also, like, going back, Athena, when she likes a dude, she's just like, "Here's a baby for you."
Right.
So, like, I could see him being like, "What do I do with this?" Like, he has
I mean, a lot of the blame, I do think, falls on Athena because she's just going around bestowing children upon, like, academic minds.
I want to believe that as much as, like, Percy was smart and being like, maybe your parents are cooler now or something, like, maybe there was some growth. I don't know, because she was always pursued by monsters, they said when she was little. So, like, I could see them being like, this is really hard. Like, what an inconvenience that my child is being pursued by monsters all the time. Like, that's fair, but she was also 7. Maybe she didn't, like, understand.
So I think like both things are true. I think they care about her, but I also, like, Annabeth is a very emotional person, but she's also, I feel like, logical when it comes to big decisions, and running away is a big decision. And so there would have had to have been a lot that went into that. Like, even at 7, I don't think she would have just run away on a whim, you know? Like, there's a lot that built up to that.
It's what 7-year-old is logical.
A child of Athena.
No. I don't buy it. At 7, you're still thinking about Barbie and Princess and the Pauper. Like, you're not doing a pro and cons of, I'm gonna run away from my family. I don't buy it.
I do.
Let Annabeth be a normal child. I'm gonna pretend she liked watching the Barbie movies. Because I liked watching the Barbie movies when I was a kid.
Also, okay, let's do some more math here. How old are her half-brothers?
Well, she says in the Lightning Thief that her dad got remarried when she was 5. So the half-brothers would have been younger than 2, probably, when she ran away. So it's been like 7 years since then. So they're probably like 8 or 9.
Okay. I was just trying to think, like, how much time did she have with these infants and her stepmom?
She also says in The Lightning Thief her stepmom treated her like a freak, and she, like, never let her play with her children, and whenever something dangerous would happen, they would, like, look at her like, how could you put our family in danger? I also wrote this down, so this is not just me pulling from my head. I just scrolled down in my notes too. This is also, I wrote a whole essay on the Chase family because I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts. Like, raising a demigod can't be easy.
But
it's just the way that she was treated like she was a problem, like it was her fault that the monsters were attacking. And then, like, looking at her dad, who then, like, later created celestial bronze bullets and things like it feels like he could have done more work during her childhood to try to make this a safe place for her to be, you know? Because it's like, okay, he always had the capacity to, like, do some wild things and figure things out. So, like, why wasn't he doing it when she was younger?
it's called growth, Mal.
It is called growth. It is called growth. But I'm just saying, if this man has no haters, I am dead.
Unbelievable. If I was any character, I would be him. That's why I'm defending him so hard, because he's like a crazy academic, and that's my goal. I want to be like crazy into like my research. That's my whole life. Like that's the dream.
Yeah, but be careful because some weird like god might come in and be like, here's a baby for you.
But wouldn't I have the baby?
Not necessarily.
Well, I guess Athena, they came from her head.
Would I be in a lesbian relationship with Athena? Because sign me up.
Well, it's not like a physical... Athena is like a maiden goddess, so you would just be like...
I can have an intellectually stimulating relationship with a woman without sleeping with her.
Okay.
Who do you think I am? A slut? You'd be correct. But still, I'm multifaceted.
Yes, but point being, you would not be the one having the child. The child would come from Athena.
Fair enough. I don't want to be pregnant, so that works for me. It's great.
Okay, but see, the fact that you're down for it makes you different than Frederick Chase, because I feel like you would figure it out. You would care about this child and you would figure it out. And the thing is, he dropped the ball a lot. And that's why I dislike him, because I feel like he has not done enough to atone for the things that he did in her childhood. I think he's working towards it, but also I'm like...
He's on thin ice.
Yeah. I look at it a little bit like, you know, when you're talking to your bestie about some, like, ex that broke their heart, it's like, no, this person is dead to me. I never liked them. I never will like them. Like, no, because this man hurt Annabeth, so I'm, like, done. Even if she takes him back, I will not. It's done. It's over. I also, it would be interesting to know, to get some data on how many of the Athena campers are year-round campers because their parents are so focused on their work, you know? Because I would imagine Annabeth is not the only one in this situation.
Well, especially to have Athena as
Yeah.
your parent, like, because they all have their different expectations on them, to have that level of, like, excellence in...
Wait, actually, because we were just talking about this earlier in our coverage of this book. When they play Capture the Flag, there aren't any Athena campers.
And they also, we talked about this last time, Annabeth being the camp counselor for the Athena cabin at
Right.
like 12, 13.
I need Rick to give me this, like, nitty-gritty lore. That's what I want. I want to understand the world.
Write him an email. A really long email. Maybe he'll respond.
Here are the questions I have for you, sir.
And you know what? We shouldn't spend any more time unpacking this Chase relationship, I don't think, because I could talk about it and we could argue this entire time, and we've got other stuff to get to. So,
bonus episode of us just arguing about this. Unedited, just yelling at each other.
It just gets more and more heated until we have to end the podcast.
Just your equipment being like thrown all over the place.
Anyway, okay, so then the questing trio now, because Grover's gone, Bianca's gone, they go up to Dr. Chase's study and they see his little models of historical battles, and Zoe, who was apparently there for this battle, starts like correcting his model, which is so fun of her. And also, I do wish that they had more time, because I feel like she would have been an invaluable resource for him to get to talk to. But also, how would you cite a Hunter of Artemis in, like, an academic paper?
Gotta bring out the Chicago style guide.
Yeah, in citing first-hand accounts versus second-hand accounts, because everything you normally do for research is all, like, second-hand.
It'd be like an interview. You could cite it like an interview, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you could, but then also people would be like, who were you interviewing that was at this battle during the First World War?
He'd be like, sorry, can't introduce you because she's...
Well,
R.I.P.
My favorite part of that scene was when Percy was like, why is he playing with airplanes? I was like, Percy, grow up. They are models.
so while they're looking at his little model, they explain the whole thing to Annabeth's dad about, like, what happened, and convince him to let them take the car, which turns out to be a yellow Volkswagen convertible. And Julie, you may remember me like 4 episodes ago saying that the coolest car I could imagine is like a Volkswagen Beetle.
They're cute. They're adorable.
Heartbreaking. The worst person you know has a really cool car. Like, it doesn't even specify that it's a Beetle, but the fact that it's, like, yellow, a yellow Volkswagen convertible, like, that's a convertible Beetle. It's a bug. It just is.
The old ones, not the new models. Like the mid-2000s ones.
Yes. No, the new ones are terrible. It looks like someone took it and, like, squished it.
I had a Barbie one. We all actually, so I have 2 sisters, so we
Mhm.
each had our own different colored little Barbie Beetle, and you could pop open the trunk and like the doors, and I think we gave them away. I'm kind of sad about it. But like the roof came off. Oh, it was so cute.
I used to drive a blue Volkswagen Beetle.
They're expensive to get fixed.
Yep. One of the motor mounts broke, and so the engine, like, fell out the bottom of the car, and it was, like, gonna be thousands of dollars to fix, so I had to get rid of it.
I think there's only one VW plant in the US.
Oh.
And they just had a union election not too long ago, I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Did they unionize?
I can't remember because I keep
Oh.
mixing them up with the Mercedes-Benz plant.
Did they unionize?
One of them did.
Yeah, we are a pro-union podcast.
Gotta do like some attached resources to the podcast.
You just gotta unionize your workplace.
All right, so in the adorable little car, they start driving off towards the mountain. They're talking about how dragons love to chew eucalyptus leaves because of their dragon breath, and how the place that they're going is called the Mountain of Despair because Kronos' right-hand man, aka the general, was imprisoned on this mountain after the gods overthrew the Titans. And they also get to see Luke's ship docked nearby. So it appears that when Tyson told us that he was headed towards the Panama Canal, it was because he was headed to California. Woo! And then our trip in the very cute car is short-lived because it is immediately struck by lightning and explodes.
Yeah, why? I never understood that. Was that really Zeus or was it Kronos or like
Okay, so see, I did kind of a shallow dive because I don't think that it was Zeus. I don't. Because why would he have helped them at the dam only to then turn around and strike their car with lightning like less than 24 hours later? I do think it is someone on Kronos' side trying to mess with Thalia and turn her against her dad.
but who else has that power?
So I went through and I like looked at the Titans and I couldn't find any of them that had control over lightning. So like I don't know where the lightning came from. And I don't think they ever explain it, or maybe they do and I'm just forgetting it and I'm going to feel really really stupid in a little bit, but like
Maybe it was just bad luck. It was actually like naturally occurring lightning the whole time.
yeah, no one did it. It's just
One time it was actually just Mother Nature.
can like a regular naturally occurring lightning bolt make a car explode?
I mean, regularly occurring lightning can make trees explode.
And like the transformers, like on the power lines.
Okay, lightning in cars from the National Weather Service. Although every lightning strike is different, damage to the antenna, electrical system, rear windshield, and tires is common. The lightning may also find its way into the small defrosting wires that are embedded in rear windows, causing these windows to shatter. It's very common for lightning to destroy one or more tires as it passes through the steel belts to the ground. It's also possible for lightning to ignite a fire, which could destroy the vehicle. Nothing about an explosion.
Well, Percy's an unreliable narrator, so maybe like the windows broke and it caught on fire, and he's like, it exploded.
Just being dramatic.
Could be hyperbole here.
Yeah.
But he talks about one of the doors getting ripped off and like impaled in the ground.
Okay, wait though. In the Lightning Thief, doesn't their car get struck by lightning before he fights the Minotaur? Like
Yes.
kind of in a similar way. Or no,
Yes.
they got struck, but they went off into a ditch, right? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah.
So maybe something similar. Maybe they ran over a live wire at the same time as a naturally occurring lightning bolt.
A range of things have happened.
Maybe Dr. Chase had a mine in his car because it was like historic and it blew up. Like a mine, you know, like the little.
Big landmine.
Another World War I relic. He's got landmines in his car. So, much like we don't know what happened, they don't know what happened. So Thalia remembers the line in the prophecy about one of them perishing by their parents' hand and thinks that her dad is trying to kill her. And Percy's like, no, it's just Kronos messing with you, trying to manipulate you and make you mad at your dad.
Or Rick throwing in a red herring and not having the ability to circle back and be like, psych, I was kidding the whole time.
Yeah, trying to also make us think that Zeus is trying to kill Thalia. I guess they got struck by lightning really close to the garden because they get there pretty immediately after. And Percy says it's one of the most beautiful places he's ever been. And he seems to say that a lot because he said that a lot in Sea of Monsters. Like, every island they went to, he was like, this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. So,
Just a man who appreciates nature.
he likes a nice location. This is the most beautiful garden. It has the most delicious looking golden apples. And the only thing that ruins it is like the massive dragon with more heads than he can count. And they also come across Zoe's sisters. Then the Hesperides threaten to wake up the dragon if they don't leave. So then Zoe just wakes up the dragon herself and distracts him while Percy and Thalia head up the mountain. And we're mostly successful. The dragon does end up biting Zoe a little bit, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And then they get to the top of the mountain and realize that it is both the ruins of Mount Orthrus, I think, aka the Titan version of Olympus, and it's also Atlas's mountain where he used to hold up the sky. We say used to because Artemis is now the one holding up the sky.
Girl boss.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, it turns out that the heavy thing that Percy has been seeing people, like, holding in his dreams is the sky. So, like, Luke had it and then manipulated Annabeth into holding it and then used that to manipulate Artemis into taking it.
I would like to point out that this scene always terrified me as a kid because the idea of holding up the sky was just like so scary to me, like the way that he always described it. And then when we finally get to the scene where like Percy does do it, like I just, when you talk about like nightmare scenarios, that was one. It scared me so much.
Oh my gosh, yeah, having to hold something that heavy. Ooh.
I would let it flatten me, I think.
Oh yeah, I would die. So, when they get up to the top of the mountain, they are joined almost immediately by the general, Luke, and Annabeth. Annabeth, of course, is tied up, and Luke has his sword at her throat, and, you know, just bestie things. Percy also says that Luke looks even worse than he did in DC 3 days ago. He looks, like, sickly and not good. And, you know, I really feel for Thalia here, because this is the first time she's seen Luke since she's come back. And just a few chapters ago, she was, like, insistent that Luke has never let her down. And now she's kind of face to face with his betrayal for the first time, so it's a lot for her. And last person to connect the dots, Percy, finally connects that the general is Atlas, and also learns that Atlas is Zoe's father.
What is with the daddy issues in this series? Like, that's all it is.
Yeah, daddy issues the series.
Does Rick have a problem with his father?
That's a great question.
Because there's a lot. Like, if it was just like one or two, but it's like practically every character.
Trying to think of a single character that has a good relationship with their father in this.
Even Chiron has daddy issues. Like, what are we doing?
Maybe this silence is loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't think. There's so many of them too. There's so many characters.
And they all.
And we know Percy's a mama's boy, so like there's some really solid moms in this.
Mm-hmm. Any character I can think of that had, other than Percy, any character that had a good mortal parent, that they had a good relationship with, their mortal parent died. So, and then anybody whose like godly parent is a male god, they do not have a good relationship with their father. You're right. There is not one character that has a good relationship with their father.
I'm trying to think of any fictional character ever. Oh, Simba. We're good.
Simba.
I'm trying to think of any fictional character ever that had a good relationship with their
That's a good pull. I like that. Now I'm like even trying to go through villains. Like, did any of the monsters have a good relationship with their father? And I don't.
Do any of them even know their fathers?
I don't know. This is part of it. Okay, yeah. Anything else on chapter 15? Because we've been on this for a while.
No, that's all I got. I just wanted to bring up the daddy issues thing. I'm so it's glaringly obvious.
You're right. Okay, so chapter 16, I put on a few million extra pounds, or kilograms if you're freaky and reading the European version of the book.
It's so different though. It's like twice as much.
Yeah, but also, when you're just like, this thing is the heaviest thing I've ever felt, I don't know if it matters that it's like 1,000,000 pounds or 1,000,000 kilograms, like both are just heavy.
The one's almost like twice as heavy. Just saying. Wouldn't you rather hold the one that's half?
So the European version of Percy is way cooler than the American version of Percy.
Yes. European Percy could kick American Percy's ass. So you know I don't love a fight scene. But this chapter rules. This is an excellent fight scene. So Percy One of the first things he notices is Annabeth's hair is now streaked with gray from holding up the sky.
Oh my gosh, like John McCain. That's why his hair turned white. Because he was tortured. Like when he was really young, his hair went all white.
I didn't know that was why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was very young when he was in Vietnam, and like he came back with like a full head of white hair. Fun fact.
Fun for who? Not John McCain.
Well, he's dead and he sucked. The only good thing he did was save Obamacare, so. Oh, and he was actually signed the anti-torture bill, so he did two good things. And then
Yay!
talked about wanting to bomb Iran, so, you know. Anyway, sorry, that's a true thing that happens. Yeah, but your body's so stressed and your hair will turn white.
Wow, look at us learning things. This is not just mythological. This is like for real. That's crazy. I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't feel like outside the realm of possibility. So, yeah, Annabeth is also trying to communicate something to Percy with her eyes, but he is unfortunately a teenage boy and, like, gets none of it. Who knows what she's trying to say? Not us. And then Atlas kind of lets them know that Artemis cannot just let go of the sky, otherwise it would crush everything, and so someone has to, like, willingly take the sky from her.
But I wrote this down because I always had this thought when I was reading it. Atlas says that if the sky touches the earth, they'll lose the mountain will be crushed, and so will everything within 100 leagues. And I was like, okay, how big is that? Because, like, if we just lost California,
a league is like 3 miles, so it would be like 300 miles.
That's like nothing. Like, that would suck, but like
for the West Coast, exactly. And none of us are on the West Coast.
We're not talking about end of the world here. We're talking about a really bad time for the West Coast.
Yeah, like, okay, Artemis is gonna let go of the sky. Everyone within 300 miles needs to get out.
I just think we could get some evacuations in order.
That is true.
And plan for this.
They can't even get people to evacuate when there's a hurricane. Let's be honest, people.
I mean, you're right. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I was like, that feels like not that big of a deal. I would think like, oh, if the sky touches the earth will be obliterated into oblivion. Like, I just think the stakes are a little bit higher for that level of like, oh, I'm gonna get crushed.
Have you ever seen the movie The Day After Tomorrow?
Yes, I love
It's like that. They're trying to evacuate half the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sky, not as big of a deal as we thought. But also, Percy's too noble to steal a car. I don't think he's gonna allow for 300 miles of people to be crushed by the sky. Yeah, so he also tries to bait Atlas into a fight, but doesn't really work. So Atlas and Luke try to get Thalia to summon the Ophiotaurus, and Luke says if she'll join him, it could be just like old times. And he also says this is his last chance, and quote, he'll use the other way if you don't agree. And Percy can see that Luke is terrified, like his life depends on Thalia joining their cause. And Percy's kind of like, I think Thalia might also know that, and that makes him kind of nervous. Luke also shows off the army of monsters that are headed up from his ship and his plans to rebuild Mount Othrys. And Zoe and Percy are very worried that Thalia is going to do it. But she looks at Luke and she says, I don't know you anymore. And Zoe, Thalia, and Percy charge into battle together.
Meanwhile, Annabeth is where?
Meanwhile, Annabeth is still tied up. There's like one line where Percy's like, Annabeth is on the ground, like frantically trying to free herself.
I was like imagining that, like, poor Annabeth, she's over there like, help, help, and everyone else is doing stuff, and she's like, I'm literally on the ground tied up. Thank you.
Someone free Annabeth. But also, Annabeth just spent like almost a day holding up the sky. Like, Percy only does it for a couple minutes, and he is like down for the count after it's done. But Annabeth did it for like, I want to say, I've seen people say she was holding the sky for like 22 hours. Like, it was a long time. So I don't know how useful Annabeth would be here. Like, I would imagine she's still not okay. Talk about a girl boss. So Thalia immediately starts fighting Luke, and Percy says he does the stupidest thing of his life and attacks the Titan Lord Atlas. And Atlas is like, you fool, just because you could take on Ares, like, you think you're a match for me? And at the mention of Ares, that pesky little curse that Ares kind of gave him after their fight in Los Angeles finally kicks in, and Percy can no longer use his sword. Kind of a long payoff for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a terrible time. Like, come on, Ares. He's fighting for your, like, survival. Come on.
Ares did say, when you need it the most, your sword will fail you. And I feel like if there is ever a time that Percy has needed his sword, it is right now.
Ares is a little bitch.
I literally wrote that word for word down in my notes.
I love it. Same wavelength.
Because it's true.
It's true. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Okay, and so then Percy runs away, and he remembers the prophecy line that the Titan's curse must one withstand, and he knows that Artemis is kind of their only hope to beat Atlas, so he convinces her to let him take the sky. And he says he can't really explain what it feels like, but he says that his muscles turned to fire and his bones felt like they were melting. Grover also speaks to him in his mind and tells him not to give up, which reminded me that they have their little empathy link, which kind of made me wonder what exactly would Grover be feeling while Percy is holding up the sky?
He probably feels like he's about to die. Percy dies. He dies too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably like, what you doing over there, bud? I'm just swimming. Like, come on.
He's like, Percy, I need you to get it together. And then Percy's like, I'm not entirely sure if what I'm seeing is real, but Zoe and Artemis are fighting Atlas. Thalia is fighting Luke. Annabeth is maybe still trying to free herself. Artemis starts kind of leading Atlas back over towards Percy, and he ends up almost getting her with his javelin, but Zoe jumps in the way, and he, like, slams her into the rocks. And then Artemis finally manages to send Atlas flying back up under the sky, and Percy kind of lets himself be knocked out of the way, because Atlas is the only one that you can, like, force to take the sky. Anybody else has to take it willingly. And Percy's, like, down for the count here. Like, he's not going to be of any use to anyone at this point. But Thalia and Luke are still fighting, and Thalia gets him at her spear point right at the edge of a cliff. Annabeth runs up and says, don't kill him, because, you know, after everything, she still has a soft spot for Luke. Luke makes a grab for Thalia's spear, and she ends up accidentally kicking him off of the cliff. How does he survive this? How does he survive this?
How do we know he's alive?
Because Annabeth knows he's alive.
I think it's too ignoble of a death for him, I think. I want him to wreak more havoc.
Yeah. So Luke has fallen off the cliff, but his army is still marching up the mountain, and Zoe is dying, and nothing is good. But then Dr. Chase flies in on his little World War I biplane, and he's made his little celestial bronze bullets, and so he flies on in, takes out some monsters, and gives them enough time to get into Artemis's moon chariot and get away. And that's chapter 17. It's a good fight scene.
I agree. This is a really fun chapter.
And I feel like it's a good picture of, like, Percy's strategic thinking in battle, because instead of him trying to fight his way through, he recognizes that, like, I have to step back here and I have to do something else and let Artemis save the day.
She's my favorite Olympian.
Yeah, I'm a big Artemis fan as well. So chapter 18, a friend says goodbye. So once they land, Annabeth is very impressed with her dad's flying, and he talks about how he melted down some of the demigod weapons that she left in her room in Virginia to make bullets, which is very cool. I really just think that we should have more half-blood guns.
Agreed.
Like, why is he the first one who's figured this out? And again, Dr. Chase would be a very cool guy if he hadn't been such a terrible father, and I stand by that. Then Thalia calls Percy and Annabeth over to where Zoe is dying, and Percy's like, you're a goddess, can you not heal her? And Artemis says if the fates have cut her string, that there isn't much that she can do. And Zoe asks, like, if she's served Artemis well. Artemis said she's been the finest of her attendants. And Percy realizes that, like, all along, Zoe would have to have known that the prophecy was about her, and that she was going to be the one to die by a parent's hand, but she came on this quest anyway. It's all very sad. She takes Thalia's hand and tells her that she's sorry that they argued and they could have been sisters, because, yeah, sisters, that's what we were all thinking. We've been saying that the messy, like, lesbian breakup energy from these two has been strong.
Yes, I absolutely see that. Yeah.
It's giving that one line from Rent, sisters, we're close, you know? And so Thalia tells her that she was right about men, and then Zoe hits us with an honest-to-God, not all men.
And she's right, because Percy Jackson would never.
No, she's right, but it's very funny for her to be dying and legitimately say, perhaps not all men. Like,
that's how you know she was written by a man.
I mean, this does predate, I feel like, the not all men kind of.
100%.
Because this didn't used to be, like, something that I found kind of funny.
It was like a nice thing.
Yeah. But yeah, in my adult life, I'm like, oh my god, not all men.
Yes, to say that she used her dying breath, or one of her dying breaths to...
Not all men. Yeah, really good. But she also tells him that he's nothing like Hercules, and she's honored that he is the one who's carrying the sword that she made, which is really sweet. And she says, I can see the stars again, and dies. And Julie, I would like to call attention to the prediction that you made last week, because you were like, I hope the friend that says goodbye is Zoe, because that would mean that she and Percy are friends. And I would just like to say,
Oh.
you got what you wanted, but at what cost?
At what cost? Poor Zoe. But you know, she's been alive for a really long time. I feel like I get sick of it.
It's true.
Like, living through World War I and II, I'd be like, I can't do this. I've seen what humanity is capable of. Do not want to witness anymore.
Well, and they never confirm like when she became a hunter, but it feels like it probably would have been pretty shortly after she was like exiled, which would have been in the time of Hercules.
I feel like, I guess she had been around for a really, really long time.
Yeah, so she's been around for a while.
Oh my god, she didn't get to witness One Direction!
Bring her back!
That's the real tragedy of this whole book.
Wait, but she got to witness Shrek and Shrek 2, right? Because this would have been, what, 2006?
This is 2007.
Okay, so we're good.
So she got to see Shrek. Okay.
But not One Direction.
No.
Tragic.
And then also she gets turned into a constellation that looks like a girl with a bow running across the sky. And I'm like, this is a really cool thing. But also, does that mean that she doesn't go to like Elysium? Like the paradise of heroes?
I guess I always saw that as Artemis was honoring her with a constellation of stars.
Because the way that like her body disappears, it feels like she has been turned into the constellation.
I've never thought about it.
I don't know. I just thought about that. I'm like,
But this part has made me cry in the past. I don't cry a lot usually in this book series.
This is a real bummer. Then my important question is, if you were going to be made into a constellation, what do you think that constellation would be?
Like what shape it would be?
Yeah.
I'd want to be like a dove or something.
Ooh.
I don't know, something like dainty.
That's nice.
Reflect my pacifist nature.
See, I didn't even think about like a not person shape, because I was thinking about the Zoe constellation and how it's like a huntress. And so then I was like, I feel like I'm too mediocre at all of my hobbies to like turn those into a constellation. And then really the only other thing I do, like girl who lays in bed and looks at TikToks, is not a good constellation. So
You're gonna turn you into a Mrs. Frizzle constellation.
Oh,
Holding a little beaker.
true.
ooh, I would like that. That would be fun. Or some kind of like plant.
Go.
I think would be cool. Like a constellation of a plant, not a plant.
Important distinction.
You're not a satyr.
Right. But that would be kind of cool. Like one of those things where they bury you and you turn into a tree after you die. Like that's really cool.
I want to do that.
Or you could be a gem. You get turned into some kind of like gemstone.
In order to be a like you would have to be kind of iconic to be a constellation. Like it feels like maybe a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I don't think they would make me a constellation. Can I say that as my answer? Because I can't think of anything significant enough that I want to represent me for all of time.
That's fair.
It's a big ask.
All right, so then Artemis has to go to Olympus, but she says that she'll send help. She tells Annabeth that she's brave and will do what's right. She also has some long and meaningful eye contact with Thalia, and then turns to Percy and says, "You did well, for a man." And, you know, as kind of dismissive as that is, it is also huge because it is the first time that she hasn't called him a boy and she has called him a man. And so then the help that Artemis sends turns out to be Blackjack and friends. And of course, Dr. Chase is very interested in the Pegasi and how they move and fly. And as he says goodbye to Annabeth, he says, "Remember, you always have a home with us and we will keep you safe." I just don't think he should make that promise because Annabeth is the one who's got to keep herself safe. Also, like, if he's gonna make celestial bronze bullets, he should have done that ages ago. He should have figured out a way to keep her safe before this. Too little, too late, sir.
You're such a hater.
I am such a hater. Listen,
Come on, we've got second chances.
anytime I start to become a Frederick Chase apologist because of something that they say in this book, I remember Annabeth running away at 7. I have this picture in my head of, you know, like that scene from Lilo and Stitch where he's holding the book and he's in the forest and he's like, "I'm lost." I have like that image of baby Annabeth. She's standing there in the rain and she's like, "I'm lost," like before Thalia and Luke found her, and I'm like, this man deserves jail time.
That's the
Saddest thing ever. Literal bully. You're so fake. You're so fake.
Why would you put that image in your brain? That's so depressing.
Because that's what fuels my hatred.
He lives rent-free in your head now. He's just playing with his little model airplanes.
Mallory's over here like, I hope you die.
Yeah. Like, I hope you slip and fall on one of your fucking airplanes.
Yeah, exactly. So then Thalia falls asleep on the back of her Pegasus immediately. So Percy and Annabeth get to talk. They talk a little bit about her family, but Annabeth's kind of unsure what she's going to do next. She's like, I can't live this far away from camp. She thanks Percy for saving her and is like, you didn't believe I was dead? Percy says, never. And Annabeth then ruins the moment by saying, well, neither is Luke, and I know that the same way you knew about me. Pour one out for Percy, who just traveled all across the country to save the girl that he loves but won't admit that he loves, only for her to make it about another man. You hate to see it?
I also have a theory that Thalia was not actually asleep and that she was more like, I think these two need to talk about something.
Yes. Thalia is on Team Percabeth, honestly.
100%.
Then Annabeth insists that Luke is in trouble and he's just under Kronos' spell. And Percy wonders how she can make excuses for him. And then he goes as far as saying Luke deserves to die and it's unfair that he gets to live when Bianca and Zoe do not.
Percy only says that after Annabeth is like, I still have feelings for him. Like, I wrote get up, Percy. Like,
Percy's like, I don't have a crush on Annabeth, but if I did, I would want Luke dead.
I don't have a crush on Annabeth, but the guy that she's still into, I hope, is brutally murdered.
Percy will kick him off the cliff again.
Yeah.
Since Annabeth is so insistent that the first time didn't work. And then, okay, there's definitely some godly interference involved here in how fast the Pegasi get them back to camp, because Blackjack almost died just flying Percy to DC, but all of a sudden these Pegasi can fly them from San Francisco to New York in like a night. Crazy. So then they pull up just in time to be fashionably late to the Winter Solstice Council of the Gods. And that is where we will continue next time. Any more things on this one?
The best part of the book, right here. Thanks for letting me join. Well, maybe there's a few more things, fun things.
It throws me off that there's like this huge climax and then we still have 2 chapters left.
We still have some loose ends to tie up. Tomorrow is Thalia's birthday.
What did we get her?
Prophecy to end the world.
Did we keep the receipt? How about a car? She's turning 16, right?
Yeah.
And one that doesn't fly.
Yeah.
One that doesn't fly and one that doesn't get struck by lightning and blow up.
So maybe not a car. It doesn't have good luck with cars.
Yeah.
She needs a bicycle.
Like one with a cute little basket.
But her basket has to be punk.
Listen, even punks need to carry stuff, okay?
It's really punk to have a basket on your
Totally
back.
punk basket.
Alright, so prediction time.
Okay, so we have the gods vote how to kill us. I said I think Zeus is going to be the unlikely hero and decide not to kill the demigods because like you helped us actually not end the world. So after he gets like persuaded by like Poseidon and Artemis and Athena maybe. So Athena shows up, right? She just we had an appearance from Athena, right?
Yeah, at the dam, yeah.
So I think maybe they convince him and then I think Mr. D is just like, nah, kill him because he's he's just annoying. And then I get a new enemy for Christmas. I think that they get back to camp and Percy has to tell Nico that Bianca died. And I think Nico blames Percy because didn't he say like, watch out for my sister? And
he did in fact say that, yes.
I think he vows revenge on Percy.
But Percy technically did not promise. He promised to do his best.
Listen, does that matter? If someone said that and one of your brothers died, would you be like, oh, well, he said he'd do his best?
I mean, I think we've already proved that I'm not the most forgiving person. So
You're like, I would do terrible, terrible things, actually.
I'm down to commit crimes and I'm not forgiving. Okay. And then I should have probably asked you about this before, but It is, I don't think it's a spoiler to tell you that we're about to find this thing out, but like in Sea of Monsters, we found out that Annabeth's fatal flaw is her pride.
Okay.
Do you know what Percy's is? Do you have an idea what Percy's might be?
I think he's too naive. I think he's very naive. That's what I got. Last minute, Mal. You had all day. You could have texted me when I was at work.
I know. I just looked at this and I was like, oh crap, I forgot I wrote that down.
I'm going to say his naivete.
Okay, I like it.
3rd book, almost done.
I know. 2 more chapters left of this one. It's crazy.
That's so good. And then you get to go into the next one.
My favorite. The reason I made this last episode only 2 chapters, it's only like 28 pages, is because I've been collecting things to revisit at the end of this book, so I have like bullet points of things that I want to go back
I
to.
love.
All right, well, this has been delightful.
Yeah.
It was good to see you guys.
It was so good to see you. Thanks for chatting Percy Jackson with
Yes.
us.
Literally anytime.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Peace out.
Hi, thanks for listening. If you want more from us, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter at DemigodDebutPod. If you liked what you heard, feel free to leave us a review wherever you listen. See you next time for some more discussion about the Titan's Curse. Bye!